Hi, we're back live. Craig's very quickly looking through his website to get that up. Welcome to Adobe Live again.
Thanks for having me. It's been a little while since I've been here
just
again.
A bit.
Yeah, just a bit, just a
we
few
were
years.
saying, what, 2019 you were saying?
Yeah, it was. 2019 was the last time I was here, and it's great to be back.
Yeah?
Great to be here and part of doing the Adobe Live.
What's bringing you to OFF this time?
Well, unfortunately, being a speaker this year.
Unfortunately.
Fortunately.
Oh, fortunately.
Fortunately. So I am doing a talk tomorrow, which will be fun. I'm also doing a live art performance, which is going to be exciting.
I saw that on the program, and I was like, why does that involve? I had a few people tell me, like, what does performance entail?
A bit of mystery behind, but basically, I'm painting on a football.
Oh, cool.
Right, so if you look at my portfolio, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that should be pretty fun.
That's cool, great. Well, we didn't even introduce you, but I'll let you give a few lines on what you do and
So I'm Craig Black. I'm a visual artist from Scotland.
Yep.
I'm best known for my acrylic fusion technique, which is essentially acrylic paints mixed together to get interesting and mesmerising effects on basically anything I can get my hands on. I just throwing paint everywhere.
Yep.
Last time I was here, 2019, I actually had a different career. I was an independent designer specialising in typography and lettering.
Yep.
So I've evolved.
You're a new person.
Yeah, I'm a new person.
Yeah.
I throw paint about. I've changed everything.
We don't recognise you anymore.
No, I'm a different person altogether.
Really cool. I mean, we have your website up. We can maybe actually show your work. You mentioned your Behance too, if you want to open that, because that shows your old work you were just saying before. Or what was the transition?
So purposely, so what actually happened, a bit of the backstory. So I was doing type work and lettering work for some of the biggest brands across the world. It was fantastic. But what happened was I accomplished my dream typographic project, which was creating the typeface for Rangers Football Club, which is my football club.
Got it.
So I supported them as a kid.
Yeah.
And then I got to do the typeface. And then after that moment, nothing else could have beat me in doing any typographic work. So it was a kind of pivotal moment in my life, actually, because my daughter was born. Olivia, who's the best thing ever for me, and my wife.
Nice.
So, and then I had to evolve as a person, but also had to evolve as a creative, because I accomplished everything I wanted to do in the type world. What did I want to do next?
That's amazing to get to that point, to just be like, yeah, that peaked.
Do you know what? See, the thing is, after that actual project for Rangers, I had offers from Premier League teams, La Liga teams, all these big teams want me to do the typeface, but I had zero enthusiasm.
Yeah, no interest.
Yeah, because for a kid wanting to create the typeface for that club, and then when I accomplished it, I kid you not, all my energy and enthusiasm just went out the window. And doing what I'm doing now as an artist is what I've always wanted to do. Brings me back to when I was a kid, throwing paint about and making stuff. And fortunately now I'm doing that now for the best part of 2.5 years.
Nice.
So my talk tomorrow is talking about that evolution from designer to artist. And yeah, unfortunately, my wife is part of the business. She's officially the boss.
Oh, right? Is she now? Is she?
On paper, she's always been the boss. But now on paper, she is.
I'm very proud to hear that.
So she's the one keeping me in line. So and obviously we've got a little girl as well. So the three of us do it as a family business, and we travel the world. Yeah. And I paint on anything I can get my hands on.
Amazing. How did you get into the whole painting side of it? I'm a cyclist myself, and I saw you worked with Ribble, which is really cool. I was looking into that video,
do you know what? I don't even know if this is an inspiring story, but one day
I don't care.
my wife came home with these gym leggings on, right? And they had this crazy pattern on them, very similar to acrylic fusion. Yeah. This was about 4 years ago. And I came in and I was like, those gym leggings are amazing. Look at that texture.
She's an inspiration
Yeah,
to
and
you.
I was in my head as the creative cogs were going, I was like, how does that texture be made? Who creates that? So I quickly went on to YouTube and actually went to Behance as well, went and paint mixing, paint pouring, in this downward spiral of videos and stuff, and thought, you know what, I'm going to get some paints and get some craft stuff out and start to make this kind of installation. Yeah. I made it in the house, and I made this artwork, and I was like, oh my God.
And she's
this
like,
is
you're
amazing.
making a mess in here. Can you please stop?
Well, I ended up getting on the sofa, and she was not happy about that.
I'm not surprised.
So that was part of the reason why I had to get a studio, because
so
I was causing chaos. Yeah. So from that moment, that was actually, I was still doing the typography, but I was working in the background, perfecting my craft on doing acrylic fusion. So it was 2 years of practicing before I basically launched to the world.
That's pretty long, actually.
It is.
Being patient with it.
The big thing about it is all about obviously the craft element to it, knowing what you're doing, but also from my point of view is the brand, me as a brand as well. How does that connect with an audience? How does it connect with brands? And also my knowledge from design has massively influenced everything I do as an artist now. So there's this huge transitional shift, and I think it's quite different to most artists, because an artist usually creates artwork and puts in a gallery, and then over time, then the brands collaborate with them, whereas I flipped it on its head and started working with brands right away, purely because of my background in design, and I know how art can influence branding, packaging, activation events, all those kind of things, and now live art performance and stuff like that. So it's been an amazing journey, and I'm grateful for everything I did in typography and lettering, but I love what I do now. I absolutely love. I'm
so
like a big kid.
After 3 years, how did you start like reaching out again to, and just like getting yourself back with this new like approach as well?
So a big part of my talk tomorrow is talking about this thing, and the biggest thing the piece of advice I can give is the importance of self-initiated work. So my whole career, the biggest thing that's got me the commercial work, working with brands and clients also, is being derived from a self-initiated project which I created. So when I become the artist, no one knew who I was or in that field, or I had zero clients. So I thought to myself, what has worked in the past? And it is self-initiated work. So if you look back at my portfolio, one of probably the most significant project that I've done is called the Fusion Series Footballs. It's basically footballs covered in paint that represent teams and countries that are participating in a tournament. So I created that project, launched it to the world, created so much content from photography, videography, from process, final completion, and that catapulted me to working with brands as well. And I think the key thing about it was that content element as well, and it's the importance of showing the process of what we do. I felt like in a world where everything's polished and everything's beautiful and crafted, which is fantastic, I basically want to showcase how it was created to get to that point. So when you see these, if you've seen one of my footballs, you think, oh, that's like a digital print, or it's been perfectly made, or kind of thing. Whereas when you realise it's been hand painted, people go, oh my God, that's a next level kind of thing, and it's unique. So every single pour that I do can never be replicated. So that was a kind of stepping stone, and it led to multiple collaborations over the past 2 years and traveling the world.
Yeah, I saw you talked about that with the bike as well, that you were like, you have one shot, so like you're just going for it, and I love that brave side of it. I'd be like, I'm going to do that again.
There's no Command Z on this, right? So the thing is about doing this, every single port is unique, especially with the cycle one, right? So I asked Rebel Cycles, can you send me like even like a test part of the bike so I can practice on?
And they're not cheap.
Exactly. Well, they're not cheap at all. And but they sent me the full bike, and I was like, right, okay, I've got to do this first time. But do you know what? I kind of thrive in that pressure. I think that's part of the reason why I've got to this level, was because when you're put in that situation outside your comfort zone, you come up with interesting elements that you never thought you were capable of doing, and you need to be pushing that element in that space. So if I look back now, I still would do it the first time. Every client I work with, I say, can you send me a test? Every time they just send me the one concept, the one ball, the one whatever.
They really trust you, though. That really shows.
I guess so.
It's a good
I
sign.
hope so. I hope so. But that's no.
You never heard back.
No, exactly. Sent it back and no response. But no, it's magical to be able to do it, because I think a big part of what I've been doing is this live art performance now, and showing people how it can be done first time as well. And there's no right or wrong way of doing it, but the funny thing is, it looks so simple, the process.
It does,
But I've honestly spent the best part of 4 or 5 years practicing at this.
That's insane.
So usually I invite people to try it, and then they start doing it, and they're like,
that looks awful.
Why is this not like you're doing it? And I'm like, well, that's because I've been working on my craft. Because every single time I do these projects, every single time I do a paint pour, I'm perfecting my craft, I'm fine-tuning my technique, every single time getting better and better. And that's part of why I get to do these amazing collaborations now.
Totally. And I mean, actually, the act of pouring, like thinking about it, is actually pretty fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the planning, it must take like how long?
So...
or am I asking you a trick question?
So, so there's a lot of trust involved when it comes to brands. So usually they reach out to me saying, right, we have this product, we love what you do, how can we combine it together? So obviously they're relying on me to say, how can we do this? Obviously the paint pouring aspect to it. There's obviously certain intricacies of different products and what you can do. But essentially, they trust me to deliver the goods, and that is part of what I do have to do. And there's a huge amount of pressure. Like I said, there's no Command Z. But a lot of the things that I do is like, so obviously you have a finished product, but what they want is the content that goes with it, almost like a marketing campaign. So there would be, I'll be bringing in a videographer, photographer to capture all the content. So it's all part of the process. And what these brands are loving now is, like I said before, the finished project, but also the process is just as important as the final. And that's a big thing for brands now, is seeing that content driven now is a big thing that I'm sure we all know about, and Adobe's a big thing about. So that's a big part of what I do, and I think that's why a lot of these brands are initiating now, kind of thing.
Totally. Should we look at something specific? I know we've had your website open here for like a bit, but should we pick something in there, whatever you want?
Let's go Wilson and MBAs. This is probably the most recent project.
Very cool.
Can everybody see this? Is this?
Yep.
All right. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So this project was absolutely awesome to do, by the way, right? So Wilson reached out to me to say, we're working at the NBA Paris game in 2023. There's 2 teams playing, the Chicago Bulls and the Detroit Pistons. We'd love to create a basketball for each team. Can you do it? I said, yes, let's do it.
Wonderful.
Let's see how we can bring this to life. So what in previous projects usually happens is you have an object, you do the paint pour, and that's it. But I wanted to take this a step further and actually bring in back in the channels of the basketball and actually hand paint into the logos. The Wilson logo back into the basketball, and it took it to a whole new level. But what we did is we create all this content as well, capturing the process, obviously the paint dripping, it looks mesmerizing, it looks amazing. All these patterns as well. The red and black represent Chicago Bulls, blue and white is the Detroit Pistons. But again, doing all this, the shape of the ball, the channels, all plays a part in terms of the way the pattern flows as well. So obviously you've got these little dips here. That's because of the channels of the balls. Beforehand, I can explain to a client, like, this is how it can kind of envision, but you've got to allow me and also the process that is quite organic, that it could go in a different sort of direction. But when I do these things, I've also got to, it's a lot of problem solving. And what I mean by that is it's not a simple case of me just putting it on top and going, oh, it's a nice pattern. It doesn't always go like that. So what tends to happen is, say for instance this ball, this kind of wavy line here, when I finish this ball, it probably started here, it ended here.
Crazy,
So I need to think like 3 steps ahead of myself. When I paint pour, I need to go, right, that top part is going to drop down, kind of thing.
And
so
expand or not, like
exactly.
Right?
So there's all these elements, and then one part of the ball can look good, the other part maybe not as exciting.
But just look at it from this side.
Exactly, so you just spin the camera. But the thing I've got to remember is that part that maybe I don't think so good is brilliant in someone else's eyes. So that's the kind of magic behind it. So then we created these 2 balls, showing the process behind it. So this is all content. And then the next stage from that was letting it dry, hand painting the channels, hand painting the logos, designing. And these are all representative of the Chicago Bulls brand colors kind of thing. Same again with Detroit Pistons, which is blue, white, and red. And both teams absolutely loved this as well. So we captured all this content as like close-ups of the details as well. And also showing the authenticity. Like obviously you can see these like kind of bit of brush strokes going into it. And we wanted to show that as well. Like I don't want this to be a perfect print. It's to actually show the craftsmanship of hand painting and art and all those kind of things as well. All this amazing imagery. And we also, we created a video, which is right up the top, which I don't know if you want to play or...
How long is it? Let's see if we have time.
It is a minute and a half.
We can play a bit of it and then we can pause it. Let's go for a half.
Right.
Nice. Oh. so cool.
Yeah, thank you.
I was like, I thought it would be like thinner and like much more liquid when you pour it.
Yeah,
It
there's a
looks
certain
quite thick.
consistency you need to make. So
Yeah.
the best way I always say is like a thick yogurt.
Okay, yeah.
Thick yogurt that can flow.
Yeah,
If that
otherwise you
makes
wouldn't
sense.
get like any of that design, right? If it was
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
slipping off. And are there like some objects you just can't work with? Like like obviously we mentioned the bike and then these, like what are things that you might, or you've tried that just don't like
Do you know what?
stick?
I'll be brutally honest, like everything that I've tried has worked.
Pretty
I'm
cool.
still awaiting that one thing, but I've
Like
tried
something
from
wild.
metal. Yeah, exactly. It's going to come at some
Yeah,
point,
yeah,
and I'm going to have to figure it out. But there's like from metal to plastic to glass to whatever. It's all worked, and acrylic is such a great form of a medium as well.
Yep.
And it's all been brought to life. So yeah, it was a brilliant project, and all that content was shared on the Wilson channels and
So
the
good.
NBA as well, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. And I know collaborations are also a thing for you. Like you do work with others, like and other creatives. Like, do you have any examples of that? Or
Yeah, very recently.
Yeah.
So I'm a massive believer in collaboration, and I think probably the Brewboard project will show that. So I collaborated with Mutual Design Studio in San Francisco.
Oh, cool.
So we created these, it was like a branding and packaging for Brewboard, which is a kind of tech coffee startup company in San Fran.
Yep.
So my role was to create these acrylic fusion textures to represent the flavors that would be part of the packaging.
Nice.
So this has never been done before, and the beauty about my work is that it's never been done. So I'm the owner of that, which is pretty awesome. Exactly. So this is kind of a game changer in terms of the packaging industry, because this is a brand new texture. But what has been so special about this is that Brewboard have been putting these coffee pods, which we'll see further down, and they're in like offices and stuff, but they also think it's like an art installation as well, which is pretty cool, and it's an interesting way of seeing how people connect with it in all these amazing textures. So I flew over to San Francisco, worked with the team at Mutual. So I basically, there was like these boards that were like 60 centimeters by 60 centimeters, and I poured the textures on, created these textures, high-res photographed them, but then after those photographs, the Mutual team, the design team, took those high-res images and crafted them into the packaging as well, and obviously formulated the brand. So there's a lot of trust coming from me, from them trusting me, but also them trusting to use my textures in the right way. And they've done an absolutely magical job of it. I'm so delighted with how it's all turned out. And it looks so cool and authentic, and and it's just like the flavour, you can feel like that taste and that flavour of them.
It's exciting. Like usually they're pretty dull. I'm not gonna lie.
And there's cool things of using. I think I hope that's kind of loads, but it's like how could acrylic fusion be used on animation in terms of website design as well. We did this little teacup thing at the end print, out of home prints as well. So it was a really awesome project. But again, like I do work a lot with brand agencies across the world, and I'm a big believer in like handing over what I've got, say like my textures to them create their own magic. So I also put it back onto them saying, right, how would you use what I do, rather than me saying, oh, you can only use blue here, or you can only use green over here. And I think that leads to a much better and exciting collaboration because of that.
Totally.
And it's trying not to be too precious. That's the best word for it.
Like you're losing a bit of control, but it's like in a good way. You're like, oh wait, like
And there's been multiple times that people have come back to me, especially this project, and they go, this is what we've created. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, totally.
And that's such an amazing thing. And then you go, oh, I'm part of that. So this was released very recently, and it's been highly well received. The client loves it as well.
Awesome.
And people love the coffee. I'm not even a coffee fan.
Are you not?
No,
Are you a tea drinker?
I'm not even a tea drinker or a coffee drinker. I know I should be, but no, I don't.
That's all good.
Very
cool. What else is coming up for you then this year?
So,
anything you can share?
Anything I can share.
You're allowed to.
I'm working at a big football competition later this year, which will be fun. What else have I got on? I can't actually say, unfortunately.
Okay, that's all good. Well, you hear it off, so you have a few things coming up. You mentioned at the beginning.
Yes.
And coming up very soon, you also have the portfolio reviews, which will be super interesting. So we've lined up 2 portfolios for you. Let's see how that goes. A little bit of mentorship and hopefully tips from you. And we'll be swapping hosts too. So Melanie will be. You asked me about breaks earlier on. You were like, how long are you doing this for?
You're like a machine.
But you'll be like that too. So thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me.
We'll see you for the next hour still.
Yeah,
back in 5 minutes.
Excellent.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.